สวัสดีครับ I'm Point from ค้นพบ What does it mean to truly listen? What does it mean to be a good listener? To really listen to somebody else. Now, I've talked about this before in a previous video last year on active listening or communication skills. But I thought it would be nice to revisit this concept again today. So first of all, it could be said that a good listener, a really good listener, is somebody who is able to establish rapport with the other person. Now, rapport pretty much means building a mutual connection based on trust, understanding, and to really understand not just what the words were being said or what words were being said, but the meaning behind those words, the feelings, or where that person is at when they are sharing something with you, especially if that is a personal story. Right? Therefore, in order to establish good rapport, we must be able to listen to the other person while putting our own judgments, perceptions, perspectives, opinions aside for the moment. You see, when we listen to somebody, we tend to naturally apply our own perspective or apply our own analysis or our own life's experiences and tell them about how it should be, right? It obviously can come from a good intention, meaning that we want to solve a problem for them. We want to help them get through a difficult time. But when it comes to active listening, that's often not the main objective. And also, we will often find, if we're being true to ourselves and honest here, we'll find that oftentimes the opinions that we give are not truly helpful for the situation that the other person is facing, because it's coming from our own judgments, perspectives, experiences, viewpoints on what is good or bad, right or wrong, right? And it can understandably be quite difficult to put that down aside for the moment, especially if what the other person has to share with you conflicts with your viewpoint on how things should be, conflicts with your sense of value system, conflicts with your sense of morality, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. So in this case, we could say that in order to truly listen to somebody else, we must also be able to listen to what's going on in our own mind while listening. Do we feel upset about what we hear? Why do we feel upset about what we hear? Perhaps they tell you something disturbing, especially if they're confiding with you. In other words, telling you a personal secret. And you might not agree with the decisions that they had made. You may think that as immoral or wrong. And if you'll notice, your own ego will be very quick to react to that. And you very quickly give them your opinion, regardless of whether or not they asked for it, they wanted it, or whether or not they welcomed it. So to be a good listener means to be able to make the other side feel that they are completely understood and not judged by you. The moment you make them feel that there's a judgment in the way that you're saying something, right? You're essentially pushing them away from you. It could be seen like that. We could describe it that way. You're pushing them away from you to shut down, to close, or to clench up and to put up a wall between you two, you could say, as an analogy, right? Now, this is clearly demonstrated, especially in the case where you're dealing with somebody who you have a personal relationship with, especially a romantic relationship. But of course, it could apply to any other relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, right? A colleague, a boss, an employee. Especially if what they are saying is challenging your own actions, challenging the way you do things, challenging the way you treat them. Because when you listen to that, your ego is not going to like that. So to be a truly good listener means to be able to put your ego aside for the moment, which again, as I just said, requires that we are able to pay attention to what our mind is doing and not react to it, not respond in a quick way just for the sake of replying. The point of listening is to understand, not to think about what to reply, not to think about how to convince why they are wrong and why you are right. Because we all have different experiences in life. And to listen means to take a genuine interest in trying to understand why they see things the way they do for the sake of understanding, so that understanding becomes an end in itself, not as a means to understand them in order to get something out of it. You see what I mean? And that's how most people listen. Most people are subtly or secretly listening and analyzing in order to get something out of it. For example, in order to get that other person to change their behavior to fit a model that they themselves approve of. Listen in order to get that person to change their behavior to suit what they as the listener want. So that's not truly listening. You see what I mean? Right? So if you are genuinely interested in learning about the experience of another human being, how they see things, why they see things, because you can understand that life is a bundle of multiple different experiences. Right or wrong is not the important point. It's not the important part. But to appreciate how there are so many different combinations and permutations, if we could look at it that way, about how somebody can be led to believe something or to hold a certain position on something or to view something in that certain way. And you can just appreciate the diversity there. You just want to understand for the sake of meeting them where they are at and giving them the respect to understand that your heart is with them in that moment. You care to understand, right? And again, these are things in terms of what it means to really listen. We're not listening to think of ways to reply and solve the problem for them. Yes, there is a time and place for that. But in terms of building rapport, building trust, building connections, right? The point is, or the objective is, to provide a sense of understanding, right? And I think that's where we get caught up a lot. Our natural tendency, our natural urge or desire is to listen in order to provide a solution for them. And that solution often comes from our own limited perspective on things, limited experiences on things. So once we begin to understand this, again, and this requires self-awareness, right? This requires a lot of self-awareness in understanding your own mind, what it's doing in that very moment. Right? When you begin to understand this, you become more humble. And that helps you to establish rapport, because humbleness replaces the need to judge, the need to decide for somebody else, the need to tell them why you are superior in your way of doing things and why they are inferior in their way of doing things. Especially in a difficult conversation where you have a conflict with your other talking partner, say your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family member, your friend, or your colleague, and you're trying to work out a conflict and they are accusing you of something, right? To be a good listener in that moment of time is extremely difficult, because your ego will want to defend yourself. Your ego will want to attack back and let them have it and show them why they are so stupid and wrong and why you're so right and righteous and moral, right? That's usually how it goes. But that's not the point of listening. Even if they were to have a serious and negative critique of you. To be able to truly listen means to be able to entertain and try to understand why they think the way they do, even if it's negatively towards you, why they think that way, without necessarily having to agree with it. But you see, building rapport or human psychology is nobody really wants to try to understand somebody else or listen to somebody else's opinions until they first felt or feel that they have been understood. You see what I mean? Nobody wants to listen to you until they have first felt understood. Or think of it this way. I'm sure you've come across people in your life where you talk to them and you became very put off very quickly, right? Ask yourself why you felt put off. Because you felt that they did not provide you the respect of trying to understand you first, right? You felt like they were trying to enforce something on you, like an idea or a perspective or a way of doing things, without caring to understand where you are at and why you have been stuck thinking the way you do, or seeing things the way you do, right? So that's a very important fact. And in order to be skillful at this, it requires non-judgment. It requires being humble and understanding that different people have different perspectives. Now, you can hold your own opinion about what's right and what's wrong, that's for sure. But you must learn to be able to put that aside for the moment. And if you can do this, you can practice this, you will find that people will open up to you much more. People will feel more safe around you. They'll be able to trust you more, because they're able to pick up and sense that you're not trying to get something out of them, or you're not trying to manipulate them. You're not trying to take advantage of them. You're not trying to tell them why they are wrong. You're not trying to judge them. You're trying to be with them, understand them, and discover with them what it means to get out of the place where they are stuck at, you see? And that's where rapport starts to really build. Okay? So I want to share this in today's video as food for thought. Again, if it's one thing to take away here, it is that in order to be a truly good listener, you must be willing to put your own judgments and opinions, preferences, put them aside for the moment. Put your ego aside for the moment. And in order to do this, you must first have self-awareness. Do you like what you're hearing? Do you dislike what you're hearing? Why are you upset about the accusations they're making? In other words, you have to master yourself and learn to not react to what is being said. And the moment you can do that, you're on the way or on the road to becoming an effective communicator, because you are truly an active listener. Okay? I hope this was valuable for you. And thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video or found it helpful, please do leave a like and share and subscribe to my channel if you're watching on YouTube, or like the page if you're here on Facebook. Don't forget, Konpop is on both Facebook and YouTube, and be sure to check out my other page, my coaching page, Thrive with Point. Thank you very much. I will see you next time. สวัสดีครับ